So we are Sheroes Collective. My name is Maria Gonzalez, and we are an organization that gives visibility to women issues of violence against women and women's representation. And we use the art of women activist artists for this to spark important conversations about these issues. So this is what we do. And this talk, Street Sheroes Artists and the Walls of Resistance, is the result of the collaboration between Sheroes and Ivanaska Festival, Ivanaska Transforma. And this is being funded thanks to is being funded thanks let me see if I can move. No? Okay, just let me see. Sorry, I cannot move the. So I was saying that this has been funded thanks to the British Council. So I'm gonna share my screen to show again the presentation. I don't know, where did it go? Okay. Just give me 1 second, please. Okay, here it is. Okay, now, sorry. Okay, yes, I was saying sorry for this. So we were able to have this collaboration between Ivanaska Transforma and Sheroes Collective, thanks to the British Council, who funded this project. The project was about to provide residency opportunity for an artist. The artist is Has and is here today with us to tell us more about her work and her participation in the Ivanaska Festival. We also show so here's Has and the amazing, fabulous mural that she painted during the festival. And we also presented 2 short films by Alina Rancière, Mala Mujer, and by Lilian Fu during the short film festival in Ivanaska this year in Onda, in Colombia. So I wanted to introduce to the artists first. The panelists. So first we have Has Harwood, and her artistic name is Has Arwan. She's recognized. I'm going to show off about you, Has.
This is so embarrassing for me.
She's recognized as one of the top 5 female graffiti artists in the UK and among the top 25 female street artists worldwide. She is our Shero artist, and we are very proud of her, and we're very glad to have met her and that she participated. She made us proud in during the festival. And with us as well, we have from Sao Paulo, Brazil, Priscila Barbosa, artistic name Pri Barbosa, and she is an amazing muralist. The walls look like canvas for her. She has a stunning work. She's specializing in gender and post-colonial studies. She has exhibited in Brazil, but also worldwide. And she explores the iconography of revolutionary women in Latin America, blending symbols of domesticity with rebellion to challenge power dynamics and societal norms. And for sure, she's Shero material, and I cannot hear more about your work because I found it very, very interesting. So thanks for being with us. And last but not least, Laura Baron, the co-founder of Ivanaska Foundation, dedicated to promoting tourism and social and cultural development in Onda. In 2021, she launched Ivanaska Festival, and now it's in its 3rd edition this year, Laura. And 4th. Oh, it's 2025? Yeah? No, it was on the 20.
No, in the 2024 it was the 4th.
Okay. Stay with us because I want you to introduce the festival if it's okay. Can you tell us a little bit more, Laura, about Ivanaska Festival, about your organization? How does it work? So I guess people would like to know a little bit more.
Of course. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening for you in Europe. My name is Laura Baron. I am the director of the UNASCA Transforma Foundation. We have been operating in Colombia since 2020. Our organization is dedicated to address gender issues through artistic and cultural expressions. For the past 5 years, we have been creating spaces and projects aimed at raising awareness of social issues related to women's participation and visibility in the arts and in diverse disciplines. And since 2021, as you said, we organize an annual street art festival that brings together mural artists from different parts of Colombia and the world to transform public spaces. And this is a very nice fact I'd like to talk about. Is like currently, 90% of Onda's artistic interventions have been created exclusively by women. So when you're around Onda and almost all the street art you see, it has been made by women. And this is particularly important because in places like Onda in Latin America, normalizing the presence of women in public spaces where they can move freely and with a sense of ownership is essential. And in addition to the festival, we engage with different initiatives, including art exhibitions, audiovisual productions such as short documentaries, training programs for the community. And this year, we produced our first illustrated book, which highlights the stories of local cooks from Onda. And we also work on projects that preserve the historical memory of the region, which serves as inspiration for the artistic development for our initiatives. And as you said, last year we were fortunate to receive the grant from the British Council, Cultura Circular, we have brought us here today. And thanks to Paula Castillo, who she was served as a bridge to connect us with Maria and Sheroes and Leonard Creative. And yeah, we were able to establish this important relationship, and this opportunity has significantly strengthened our process, partnerships with other organizations, and our approach to improve sustainability practices. So yeah, I think that's it. And thank you, of course, to Pri and to Has that they were part from UNASCA last year, and their work is very important for the development of all of the art and cultural process here in Onda.
Fantastic, Laura. I think people attending the talk will love to know what are your plans for this year or from the future. I know that you're planning to bring the festival to Europe and to spread across Latin America. So we would like to ask you at the end of the talk if you're okay with it. So people, you need to stay with us. Until the end to know more about Imanasca Transforma plans. And now, without further ado, I would like to have to start this conversation. The conversation they are going to touch in different type of topics and questions, and it's going to be an open conversation between our panelists Has and Pri and Laura as well. If you want to participate, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we will come back to them afterwards. Or maybe the artists want to address the questions during the topic. So I want to start this talk with this image. This handprint is from a Paleolithic and from 45,000 years ago, more or less. Obviously, they always thought till a decade ago, to the 21st century, till this century, that these prints or these paintings in caves were made by men. There was no question. There was no question. Nobody said, "Oh, what if? What if?" There was no question that people will think that these will be made by women, till one biologist discovered that the size of the hand and the length of the finger belonged to a woman. Therefore, now it's being questioned if all the paintings have been made by men, and they probably think that they probably think now that they are made by women instead, which changes the whole history of art and the whole conception of women's roles in society in the past and in the present. And I think this is it's important, and that leads me to the first question to the artist. When we bring our art outside to the street, to the public eye, and especially when the painting and with the artwork, in this case, is big. Big meaning like is on a building that is high. We tend to believe, or most of the people tend to believe, that these murals have been done by men. And this is a conversation that we had with Has many times, and I would like to open a space for this question. Is it usually Has and Pri? Is it the larger, the most likely to be believed that is being made by a man? So, Has, if you can start.
I I feel like it's a bad way to start because I don't want to come across like out to get men. But
That's
my answer to
okay.
that is yeah, 9 times out of 10, um, yeah, every single time. So I've been just a little bit on me. So I've been spray painting for 20 years now, which means I've been spray painting murals longer than I haven't. Crazy. So I started out tagging when I was 13. I happened to be in a crew, but I was the only female. Now it didn't seem relevant at the time, but I've realized that it's been a common theme throughout every single step of my career. And my most common comment when I'm painting in the street is, "Did you do that?" As if like how on earth could I possibly have done that? When I mean, I hire all sorts of people to help me to document the process, I'll get an assistant to help me sort of when I'm operating the scissor lift or the cherry picker. And if they happen to be male, when we're having a break, for example, every single time the general public will speak to the guys as if it's their project. Every time, every single time. And they all say, "Oh, it's not my project, I'm assisting her." And there's this moment where there's like oh yeah, of course it could have been her. And it baffles me how often that happens. The first few times I really, really hoped it was just a momentary thing, that like, oh, it's just someone that didn't expect or didn't see me there or didn't. I am done making excuses for it, because it's the consistent answer is, "Oh, I didn't think it would be you." And why is that?
How do you respond to because you are very nice polite. How do you respond to it? How do you what are your answers? Is depending on the day, or depending if you're
No, no, in
or if you're
general.
in general, or are you ironic about it, or how do you
No, no,
respond to
in
it?
general, because do you know what's strange about it is it's never malicious. Okay, well, it never seems to be an intentional thing, and there always seems to be like a backtrack. Oh no, I've done the thing. I didn't mean to say it like that. Of course it could be you. So I'm always just very like, yeah, yeah, of course I'm doing this. And they
Yeah.
let them figure it out. I'm just like, matter of fact, yeah, I'm doing this. This is my job. I've worked for myself for 10 years. I'm hiring these boys to help me out. it is what it is. They're
Yeah.
like, okay.
But women
And that's that.
invisibility is not malicious. Like it doesn't come from a malicious place, like most of the times.
Mm-mm.
You know, it's a reality that hurts women a lot.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's took us
And
for
yeah, I
activities.
that there is an awareness of not being too forgiving, not giving it too much, like, oh, it's okay, we live in the world, it's okay to think that I wouldn't be doing that. It's, there's a fine line where I'm like, come on, you know better. And here I am. So that's how I deal with it, how I try to deal with it. Catch me on a bad day, I might just be like, what does it look like I'm doing?
Don't
What does
even
it
ask
look
me
like I'm
about.
doing?
And one of the wonderful things that we discovered through this collaboration is having the Colombian sisters saying, "Oh, we're so glad to have met Has because now we can see that it's not just happening in Colombia." So now my question goes to Pri. Pri, what is your experience about painting in big walls and is it the same that has for you?
Yeah, for me it's the same. I think that's something that happens everywhere, not just in England or in Brazil or in Colombia. It happens everywhere because I've been to other countries and this also happened. And I've had this conversation with several artists, including Hess. We talked about this in Colombia. And every single time our authorship is questioned. And that's something that people see us sometimes in the scaffolding. We talked about this. They see us up high, and then even so, they don't believe their eyes. I think because they always try to talk to the producer or the assistant, and they always say, "It's not my project. I'm just helping," and they don't believe it. I think the argument is often that we don't have the strength or the physical ability to do this type of work. So, which we all know that makes no sense at all. But we still live in a society that believes that we are very fragile. So I think that's why it's so important for us to bring visibility to female artists and reinforce that we can do it, because that way I think we can make young artists feel more confident that they can also do it. Because I think that, just like Has said, when she started, she didn't have a lot of references, which is not the same for me, because I started to paint in the street. I was like 28. I'm only 35, but it's been a little bit of time, and I had these references, so it was different for me than it was for her.
Yeah, and I think like throughout the history of art, we had so many women that were artists, but they were hidden, and they were always named after their husbands or their fathers, or sometimes they used to just not to sign the work. So probably all the paintings in museums and artworks that they don't have a name, they belong to women. So they have a woman name for sure. And that happened throughout the history of art. And I think, like, talking about size, women were forbidden to paint in big scale. They were just allowed to paint in the house, in the inside, and not in the outside. And they were not allowed to represent war scenes, for example, or to represent like nude at all, because they were not allowed to study anatomy, and they were reduced to the house and to themes like maternities, children, and I think like that goes well with your work, Pri, because you represent these kind of domestic themes in order to talk about important issues, like to catch the eye of the viewer in a public space and to send a powerful message. And this is what I absolutely love and admire of your work, like giving the place that they deserve to these women, that these anonymous sheroes, our grandmas, or were like women working hard, working in domestic spaces, women that they don't get any recognition, any salaries or any compensation at all, and sending to the world a powerful message. Why the themes? Like, can you please explain? Because I read a little bit, but I would prefer, obviously, if you explain about your themes, the themes that you paint.
Yeah, I think that one of the most important things for me is to question what it means to be revolutionary. It started by thinking about this in Latin America, but now, since I've been traveling to other countries in the past few years, I got to apply this research in different countries, in different cultures. So I try to understand what people think that is this image of who is revolutionary or who is not. And this is a very important question because it's not just about questioning people from the right, for example, but also people from the left, like of this political view, because inside groups like anarchists, socialists, and communists, we have this theme that is not addressed, that is our rights as women. And it's not just about reproductive rights, it's not just about abortion, but it's about what happens inside our houses also. So that's why I like to bring this image of a mother, a grandmother, and how these women are the one that forged us through their work inside or outside the house. We get to talk out loud. I'm a feminist because they allowed us to have a different life. My experience is obviously in Brazil, in Latin America, but I think that's something that is very common for other women in other countries, because we have now this opportunity to talk about these things. And that's why I put this in my work, because we still struggle a lot with the housework, in our relationships, the way we share these tasks inside the house, which is not a little thing. It's huge, because that shows how much of our work is not it's not only not getting paid, but it's not given the receiving the attention that it needs to receive. And we are invisible inside our houses. It's not just on the streets, it's inside the house. So that's why it's important to talk about this. And my work uses this color, like a rosy tone, because I like when people look at the work from afar and they think, oh, how nice, how sweet. And then when they can see it, see the message, understand what I'm saying, they say, I think that's a little aggressive. And that's what I like, because sometimes people don't realize they can see a grandma like with a green scarf. And when they realize that she's talking about abortion, they get like, what the fuck? My grandmother could be talking about this? Yes, probably your grandmother had an abortion. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, but that's true. And we have to talk with these women also.
Yeah, that's amazing. So the green, just for those who might not be aware, so the green scarf is representing. Do you want to explain or?
Yeah, the green scarf is a Latin American symbol. It started in Argentina, and it started as the symbol of defending the legal abortion, but it spread it as something bigger. So now it's like a symbol in all Latin America of feminism.
Thank you, thank you. And I've got you has that you also took yeah, you took opportunities to present women in your work in the murals. Can you please tell us about the themes that you explore in your work, and why do you choose these themes?
Yeah, I can try. The two images you've got up were part of a campaign that a local council were wanting to do some work on, and that speaks to me, and I wanted to do something alongside them. That being said, in general, I know that in street art, a lot of people paint female portraits and flowers, and whether they're a male street artist or not. But I think there's a real difference when a woman does it, and I've said this probably on every single interview or anything that I've done in the last few years. Like, I think it's so important to represent women and for women to take up space. And if I can do that by painting huge female portraits on giant walls, then I'm physically taking up space, and people can't ignore that. So I do a lot of that. This campaign, the Speak Up campaign, I thought was super important because it's about talking about things. And I guess street art is why we do what we do, rather than just painting inside and just keeping them in a sketchbook. Like, we are visual communicators, and we're trying to get stuff out into the world in a big, loud, colorful way. And this campaign was exactly that. I think it's so important that we talk. As stupid as that sounds, I think it's so important that we talk about everything, and we talk about women's rights, and we talk about the things that no one really wants to discuss because it's too awkward, or you're not sure whether you're right or not. And especially for this campaign, violence against women, domestic abuse, anything in that vein is the most covert form of abuse. So you're not going to be sure whether it's happening, which is why it's so important to communicate about it, so that it becomes normal to talk about it, so that people feel like, actually, oh, I was a bit concerned about your neighbor, or so it becomes normal and it becomes an everyday thing. And I'm going off on a tangent about what I believe in, but this is why I did that campaign, because it needed to be talked about.
Of course, yeah, and I think it's important. And as you said, this is what we do from Sheroes Collective, just to give space and then to talk through the work of activist artists about important issues, to normalize conversations. Plus, we live in a visual society. We consume images, videos, and we consume so many normalized violence everywhere, that we need to fight back with some other work and some other visual work.
And also, on a really basic level, we don't get to choose what we visually consume every day on the street.
Yes.
It's just billboards everywhere. You don't get any say in any of that. So why can't I just put a little bit of what matters out there into the world? It's no different, although a little bit better, than an advert. It's still visual communication, except for it's been thought about, and it's not clumsy, and it's not damaging. So I think everyone should paint big.
And I
in
think
graffiti also, sorry. And in graffiti also, we are kind of tired to see sexualized bodies. In Brazil, it's like a thing that graffitis from like the 80s, the 90s, they love to paint indigenous women very sexualized, like not only in graffiti, but to like doing tattoos like this. And we are very tired. So it's not just about complaining to them, but creating other images.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely necessary, and I think like the rest of the artists, they paint in Ibanasca during this edition in Onda this year. They painted women too. Um, so it was like a conversation between all of you, like about the the theme, the type of theme that was painted. So this is Yuda, another artist that participated in this year, and there is this Luisa Prada. So was a common thing? Was it
I have
discussed?
so much to say on that.
Okay.
Only briefly, I'll try and shorten it. But
Okay.
so
Give a
many
go.
so many male artists, especially street artists, paint female portraits. It's become like the long running joke of the street art world. What's it going to be? Is it going to be a woman? Are there going to be flowers? And that's fine. It is what it is. There is a lot of female portrait street art pieces out there. However, it is totally different when a woman paints a woman. It is so different. And there is an absolute, how do I articulate it? There's an absolute authority. We can paint women. It's totally different to a man painting a woman. And I don't remember there being like an in-depth conversation about, oh, are you going to paint a woman? Oh, I might do that too. That didn't really happen because we're all well within our right to represent ourselves. And I think it was nothing but an amazing thing that actually all of this artwork just came out of us. And it's like a whole street of solidarity in my books. When you see that street in Honda, it's such a powerful street, and all the artwork is it's so much more meaningful to have women painting women. It's, for me, entirely different.
Well, here. I completely agree. Pri, do you have something to say about this?
Yeah, actually, the festival had like a theme. It was about the knowledge of women, the ancestors, the all the I think it was like in general the knowledge of women. And what I noticed is that female artists show more interest in connecting with the community that will host their murals. And for us, the process is as important as the result. So we put a lot of personal experiences into our creations, and we also welcome collective experiences from the neighborhood, from the people around the mural, to promote it's like to promote some social justice. We try to connect with them because we have so much to learn, and we believe that through our paintings we can share this conversation, we can share this with other people, and also with men from the neighborhood, because they will also see these paintings every day. And that's why it's so important to talk to them also, not just talk to women. I think that's why we all painted women, because it's a very powerful place for us to talk about the things that we usually cannot talk about it unless through painting, because some conversations are so hard, are so tiring, that we no longer want to talk about these things because we are very tired. So painting is a way of communicating this and opening these conversations with other people.
And I think you are completely right, because when it comes to the history of art and the way main artists represented women, is a completely different. So women have been represented in a way that we don't see ourselves. We don't have any authority or any power through all the canon and bodies and then roles that were given in the paintings or in the history of art in general. And we can see the difference. I use the work of famous male artists that are representing women and the way they represent women and the way street artists are representing women. So we have like different type of approach and with another type of entitlement. So I think is quite important to have women painting women or representing women. Totally agree with you. And so that's why we need to open spaces. That's why Ivanaska Transforma is an important organization. Sheroes Collective and many other sisters organizations are so important, and women art producers do the important job of giving space and a platform for women artists representing women and changing stereotypes and changing and transforming and rethinking the visual history that and on all these visuals and images that we consume daily, and we don't often question in the right way. So thank you for this, and especially like coming to this type of approach with children, when you have men artists that are super famous, were super famous, and they are still hung in a museum, and the curators of important museums, they refuse to take them down, even though they refer to pedophiles, or they encourage the view of children in a sexual way. This is very damaging to our society, and again, like it takes a world for important people on the top of the museums to have a think and say, this is something off. There is something off about this. But yeah. So I wanted to touch on then I'm aware of the time because I want to leave space. I don't know if we've got questions. I cannot see here, but I want to talk about the fact of opening space for art, for public art, and how important and impactful street art or public art is for people. You were talking about the viewers, the communities, people that don't necessarily go to a museum, for example, or don't necessarily have this connection with art or this background or education, but the art is there and they can see it every day, or they can have a go at saying or at thinking or having an opinion. What do you think? Because I think as a street artist, you have the conviction that your art change minds, especially when you are activist artists. What do you think? Would you like to go first this time?
Yes, I always say that public art is the defense of democracy. And I really believe this because it's the right for any citizen, regardless of their academic background, social status, or financial situation, they have the right to have access to art. And we are the reminder that anyone can and should access art and also become an artist, because that's another thing, because we are used to hear that to be an artist you have to go to this school and do that and be with this gallery, and this is not true. And we have I consider a problem that contemporary art doesn't believe that street art is contemporary art, and it is. And that's something that I always defend, because we are ahead of so many discussions in art that contemporary art just got in these discussions so much later, and now they are talking about breaking this system that I don't know the word in English, but that confines, I think, the art in some space. And we are talking about this for like decades. So what is more contemporary than that? What is more contemporary than public art that is shared and discussed with the population? So I think that this breaks down so many barriers, and we as artists, we should be aware of our roles in this part of history, in art history, because sometimes we don't know that, and we have to talk about it.
That is so important and so true. And I was trying, like, when I was I studied history of art, and I ran tours in museums rethinking the history of art, European art from a gender perspective. I didn't know much about street art, and I came across Lady Pink in New York, one of the first women street artists ever. And I thought, oh my goodness, like such a long way that we came at. And around public art, I completely agree with you. Plus, public art is most of the times not funded. So is public art, street art is funded by the artist, and artists are not supported whatsoever by any local authority or by anyone. So yeah, I think is quite, it has a merit to do what you guys do, and I love it. So I just wanted to show you Las Gallinas Furiosas, the Furious Hens. I love the name, and I love the work they do, and I wanted to dedicate like a little space for them, because they do activism to bring activism about abortion, about women's rights in Colombia, in public spaces, and yeah, and they're very powerful. I really liked this. I loved all the artists that participated in Ivanasca. Just being aware of the time, we just have 10 minutes, so I'm gonna stop sharing, and we can see I can see all the lovely participants that joined today. And I've got a few questions for you guys. Let me see. Few questions. So a question for you both, or either artists. Did you get to talk to local women, perhaps older local women, about the art, or how were they responding to it? Thank you, Priscilla.
Yes, we actually, I think the whole experience, the most important thing was to talk to women. It was not just about painting, because Ibanasca made sure that we'd have the time and the space to explore the community a little bit and to know some people, because we in my case, when I went to Ibanasca, I didn't had any sketch or nothing in my mind. I went there to experience the community, talk to people, talk to women, especially older women, and through these conversations, I decided what I was going to paint and so I was mixing the languages right now, Portuguese, Spanish, and English. And through these conversations, I got to sketch something, take some photograph, and decide what I was going to do. So these women also participate in the process because we painted their houses. It was not like commercial street. It was like their walls. So they lived there, they gave us fruits, they talked to us, and they were so nice. And in my case, that the wall was trying to talk about a little about abortion. It was harder because it's such a delicate conversation, but we try to do with the most respect possible, and they were very welcoming.
Fantastic. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, the girls that lived in the house of the wall that I painted, we are still in contact. We check in on each other all the time. They WhatsApp me. I practice my Spanish, still terrible, everyone. And they practice their English, and it's just become a really nice exchange. Because these connections are not surface level, they're really meaningful. And their grandmother, who lived in the house also, was so grateful for me painting their wall that she was devastated that I was leaving before she could cook me dinner to say thank you. And I'm like, I'm in Colombia painting, and I've been offered all this information and culture and history and really significant stuff to ingest, which already feels like an absolute dream to me. That makes me feel like the luckiest person on the planet when I get to do that. And then I've got a wonderful family of women who are really grateful to me for painting on their wall. It makes no sense to me. It's the most beautiful thing. But also, I think all the way through the process, again, like I turned up with no idea of what I was going to paint, but was in the full knowledge that I would be filled with information and facts. And there were sort of mythological stories and all this information about the river, and all of that sort of gathered together meant that we could all make really meaningful work that was relevant to the community, because we're leaving that artwork there. They have to see it every day. It has to mean more to them than it does to us, in a way, I would say. So yeah. It was incredible.
And I think like one of the most wonderful things of Ibanasca Festival is the blend between the communities and arts, and how accessible and how everything builds together, flow together, and feed each other, which is important. So I'm gonna go to the second question. There is another more question, and then so if someone wants to raise a hand to comment on something, you're more than welcome. So second question to both artists. As an aspiring woman muralist who loves both of your work, girls, what would you recommend to emerging women muralists in how to get to a similar position of representation and exposure? This is something, thank you, Natasha, for asking this question, because I was going to say the same. How do you become so famous?
I am going to say something that's going to prove how much of a cynic I am, right? Because you just need to paint, and you need to paint in public spaces, and you need to absolutely ignore the fact that you annoyingly have to work double as hard to prove yourself as equally as your male counterparts, which is really frustrating. But once you've got over that, because it absolutely did my head in at the beginning, I was just like, why am I trying so hard and it's not even being like acknowledged at any point? And then I think my persistence meant that people were like, oh, she's not going away. She's going to come to all the paint jams. She's going to paint over us. She's going to keep doing it. And I did. That they were like, oh, okay. And then for me, I unlearned all of the rules that I learned with spray paint and graffiti, because I learned how to paint. I was always painting characters, but I painted them in a way that all the guys around me would paint letters, which meant that my work was really flat. I was trying to do sort of outlines and 3D and all these things that I was just trying to do what I thought was right, because that's what the graph scene was doing. And then I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to see what I can do with a spray can as a medium. And I think not only did that have a different outcome, which I thought was more aesthetically pleasing, I think the knowledge that I no longer cared made people go, oh, okay, she's just going to keep doing it. So I would say absolute persistence, and yeah, that will get you very far.
Oh, thank you. And Pri, do you mind if I go to the next question?
Sure.
So we answer all of them, and yeah, I'm very sorry. I'm just mindful
No
about the
problem.
and that you all need to go and have dinner or do your things. Anyways, and I want to go back to Laura to close the talk. What kind of support do you think will be impactful to receive as women artists? And do you have any thoughts or ideas on how we could possibly level the field better for women artists? I know that this is a big question, just looking for actionable solutions.
Yeah, I think that it's hard to think about solutions when we, as women artists, don't talk to each other. So I think that's the first thing we have to talk about, our careers, our techniques with each other, because the guys are like this. They are like so, I don't even know the word for this, but you guys understand, they have their backs and we don't. And that makes things even harder, because we have to prove ourselves to them and to each other. And that's very hard because we are the most critical artists. And so that's why it's important for us to talk about with each other and get this trained with other female artists. And also, to answer the other question, I think that's very important to think that we don't have the same background, because, for example, Hess started to paint in the street. She was like 13. At 13, I was in my house, taking care of my cousins and taking care of my mother. And I would never think that this would be my profession. And when I started in street art, I was a digital illustrator. So people thought, what is she doing here? Why isn't she with her Photoshop or her iPad? And I just thought, well, I don't care what you think, because I was invited to be here because I was in a festival. I was invited, and I'm already very scared to be here. So I don't need you guys to scare me even more, because I'm already doing that. So I started to paint thinking about what I wanted to do, what I was exploring, without thinking that this would be my career. And I think that's important, because we have to be open to the other paths that come to our lives that we don't even imagine that they will come. So don't forget to study not only about techniques, but talk about the art history, because sometimes the struggle that you are having, it's like it's been going on like centuries. So it's not just yours, it's shared.
Oh, Priscilla, not Priscilla. Otherwise, I will tell you off. Priscilla,
Yes, please.
here again. You're right. That's why Sheroes Collective exists, to get your backs and to get the artists and art producers that are women back. Well, we didn't say at the beginning, but we Sheroes Collective, we refer to women, and including trans women and non-binary fellows. Chicos y chicas, we have to go. But I want to go back to Laura. Laura, tell us about what we can do in the 2025 to see you again, see you around Europe with your amazing festival. Do you want to tell us a little bit more before we go?
Yes, I want to thank you everyone for joining us today, and I just want to do a little reflection of that engaging this kind of processes in the world and in Colombia is very challenging. And like live out of the art and all the things we do, it's it's very hard, and we live in a world where every time we are more connected but more disconnected sometimes from what it truly matters. Even in 2025, what is happening politically is so weird. So I think we need to keep resisting and being together and trying to keep doing more of these kind of projects. So maybe the world's going to be a bit better, and I think this is the only way of healing, through art and through supporting each other. So for 2020, like every year we have like a research team. We do like that, and from that research we do all the work we do for the rest of the year. So this year we are working in a research project exploring the connection between women and the land, the power of plants, the redefinition of the use of the coca plant, along with other plants. And the idea is like we're going to Europe, if everything goes well. We're going to Toulouse. We're going to be working in a project. It's called Latinograph, that it's in France. And we might be going also to the south of Italy and Sicilia. And yeah, we're going to bring the project, like a small portion of Ivanaska there, to show what we have been doing the past years, to show our films, like the short documentaries we have been doing the past years, also the exhibitions. Yeah, that's the idea. This year we won't have like a festival in Onda, but we're going to be traveling, and we're also doing more different projects, like around the festival, like and we're doing another book. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be about Onda, and also we're going to do another like a documentary. So we're doing different kind of things, and if there's an artist or someone who wants to collaborate with us, we're more than open to listen and to collaborate and to work together.
So, Laura, we will be sharing your artist call out in the UK and with all our community of women artists. So just to let everybody know that stay tuned and connected to Sheroes Collective and to Vanaska Transformer, because yeah, there is more to come. And thank you to the British Council for this for the opportunity to bring artists from Latin America and from the UK together, have common topics and to build up this amazing community across continents. Thank you very much, Has, for being with us, for bringing your expertise, your views, for going to Colombia and reinforcing these yeah, this connection. And thank you, Pri, for joining us, for sharing with us your powerful messages and your powerful art. Thank you to everybody that attended, and thank you, Laura, for this collaboration. It's been a pleasure. And please join the collective, join Sheroes, join Ivanaska, follow Has and Pri, and the artists. And if you want to, if you have any questions, just contact us on Instagram, and we'll get back to you.